Hello, I want to talk about some of the jazz guitar books that have come out this year on fundamental changes. Now, I've read 4 books that have all been released this year, and I think they're all excellent. They're written by some of the best jazz guitarists and teachers that are around at the moment. The first one is called Beyond Chord Melody by the legendary British jazz guitar player Martin Taylor. Then there was a book called 100 Classic Jazz Licks for Guitar, which is by Pete Sklaroff and Joseph Alexander. Then there was Jazz Bebop Blues Guitar by Tim Pettingale, and the most recent one is called Modern Jazz Guitar Concept by Jens Larsen. Now, apart from just being by some of the best jazz guitarists out there, the reason that I was so impressed by these books was because there's no repetition. When you read them, you don't feel like you're just getting the same ideas from different people. They all come at it with a very, very different angle. So what I want to do is just very briefly talk to you about what each book is about and play you some of the examples as well. Now, all of the books come with audio. Some of them come with backing tracks for you to play along with as well. Now, the first one, the Martin Taylor book, Beyond Chord Melody. Martin Taylor is known as a solo guitar player. He's known for arranging jazz onto solo guitar, and that's exactly what this book is about. So it's about his methods and how does he approach arranging jazz on solo guitar. Here's an example. Now, the 100 Classic Licks book, which is by Pete Sklaroff and Joseph Alexander, this looks in detail at the style of 20 different guitar players, and it goes all the way from very, very early jazz like Django Reinhardt, all the way through to your modern players like Pat Metheny and fusion guys like John McLaughlin and that kind of thing. And it's a really, really great book if you're trying to build up your jazz vocabulary. You can look at all of these different styles of jazz guitar playing over the ages. Here's an example from the Pat Metheny section of the book. Now that book, the 100 Classic Jazz Licks book, comes with all its own backing tracks. So when you've learned any of those licks, you can practice them by playing along with the backing tracks, which is really fantastic resource to use. And another book which comes with its own backing tracks is Tim Pettingale's book, Jazz Bebop Blues Guitar, which I think is really targeted at people who are playing blues, but they want to get into playing jazz, and they want to get into playing jazz blues instead of straight ahead blues. And what he does is he looks at different kind of harmonies and chord substitutions and different ways of approaching playing over the dominant 7th chords that make up a standard blues. It's really interesting. Here's an example. Now, the final book that I'm going to look at is called Modern Jazz Guitar Concept, which is by Jens Larsen. Now, if you're not familiar with Jens, he's got a fantastically successful online presence, YouTube channel, website where he teaches jazz guitar, and he is just a fantastic jazz guitar teacher. Now, we're told at the beginning of his book that this is the first of 2 books, so the second book doesn't come out yet, but we're going to eagerly await that. And it starts from the real basics of harmony with just looking at the major scale, and then he looks at some alterations, and he looks at things like the harmonic minor scale and the altered scale, and it's all about kind of approaches to developing your own kind of jazz bop vocabulary. It's a really, really good book. I highly recommend it. Here's an example. So if you're interested in jazz guitar, or you want to study jazz guitar at home, or you're just looking for a gold mine of practice material, I really, really recommend all of these books. They're from Fundamental Changes, so check out fundamentalchanges.com and you'll find there's so many great jazz and music books out on Fundamental Changes, and you can download the audio and the backing tracks for all of the books from fundamentalchanges.com.